the world has changed pretty significantly. It's changed in expectations by our stakeholders, it's changed expectations by the investment community, and how do we approach it, and how do we make that step change that we're going to need to continue to be a leader in this space? Our patients and customers want a safe and effective product. Colleagues want a safe workplace. Suppliers and partners want to share in our profitable growth, and they also want our reputation linked to their performance. So why does it matter? Competitors do care. Last year, 93% of the public companies released some sort of sustainability report. Customers care. They expect companies to be sustainable. Investors care. They're looking very hard at sustainable analytics. This is growing by leaps and bounds. The boards care. This year at our shareholder meeting, this was over 50% of the questions raised by shareholders were around the company's sustainability program. And that's from no questions last year around sustainability. So obviously it's in the forefront. People want to hear about it. We're seeing the regulators starting to look at sustainability and asking for reports. There's some talk about some legislation that we have to report sustainability, particularly things like carbon emissions. And our employees care. They expect us to take a stand on social issues, and they expect us to be active in this space. When the SDGs were set, it was done by policymakers out of the UN along with various members of academia. And there's nothing wrong with that group, but they didn't invite anybody from the corporate or industrial world to join them. And so when you look at these goals, there's a lot of overlaps in them. They're not well defined in terms of what the end target should be. And there's really not a roadmap on how they expect us to get there or how we're even going to measure if we got there. It's not a single method for reporting any progress. The UN has recognized that this is a gap, and they have just started having conversations with different industry groups to try to better define what they're looking for in the end goals so we can all get on the bandwagon and help them get there by 2030. And it's really about where are you as a company, where do you focus, what can you actually impact? But what we really did was align with company strategy for innovative programs across the organization, including patient access, supply, human resources, clinical trials, and the environment. Prioritize, figure out what your metrics and key performance indicators are, and then look at the meaningful reporting. And there's like 13 steps here, and it's kind of that continuous improvement loop. What we have is every one of our sub-goals has a group of people from that part of the organization who are responsible for it. We meet with them regularly. We make sure they're on track. We help them if they have a question or need some resourcing. But we don't actually own those goals. So when I talked about clinical diversity, our group that runs the clinical trials owns that goal. It works well for us because of the way we're set up. I know a lot of other companies, it sits in the government affairs group. I don't think it really matters when you are all-inclusive of the organization the way we are. So I think that's probably the key, is to have the organization involved and not just a group own it. Thank you.